Hi, We Read Bookers. So it's a new year, new book challenges. 2 years ago I did 100 books. Last year I did 60 books. This year I'm knocking it down to 25 new books, not because I'm not going to be reading more than that, but because I'm rereading books and I just don't count the ones I've already read. I am going to start reading the Game of Thrones books, so once I am done with that I look forward to doing a review. It's going to take probably all year. They're like this big. But so far it's going really good because I love the TV show, and I've just heard the books are incredible. And my goal for this year also is to reread the Harry Potter books, and I'm about halfway through Sorcerer's Stone right now, and I just have to say, oh my god, I just love Harry Potter so much. Even going back and rereading it at 24 years old, I'm like, this is good writing, and it's just like magical to reread it. I love it so much. I haven't done it in a long time, so I'm looking forward to doing that with reading. Recently though, I wanted to do a review today of 1984 by George Orwell. I actually had never read that before this year. I never had to read it in high school. I don't know why, very weird. It's usually like one of those books. But I've been trying to read a lot of the classics lately. That's kind of been my goal. And 1984 was like on my list like right away because everyone just says it's so good. So I just finished it like last week. It's not my first George Orwell book. I've read Animal Farm before. Excellent, A+. So I was really looking forward to this one. It comes in 3 parts, this book does, and the first part is hard to read. Like, I think that's why it took me so long to get through this book. It took me about a month. I was reading on and off other books too, so it's not like I was like, this is hard, but it couldn't keep my interest, that first part. George Orwell sort of opens with our main character, Winston, and doesn't really tell you what Winston's like. I mean, you know it's around 1984, obviously, but he doesn't really give you a lot of context. You kind of just have to figure it out as you go along, which I like books like that, but with this one, since it was written so long ago, it was kind of hard to stay interested. But I knew there was like this big, social thing around it, so I knew it was going to get better. And once Winston meets Julia, which is kind of like our other main character in this book, things really started to pick up. There's like actual dialogue. I think the first part of the book, like, Winston says like 2 words out loud. He's very isolated, which is kind of like the point of this whole society. And he's wondering constantly if he's the only one that's feeling oppressed, basically. Everyone has to be all for the government all the time, and there's cameras that follow you everywhere, even in your home. As a party member, he's part of the outer party. And so his job is to erase history, basically, which is really interesting. Basically, Big Brother, who's not really a person, it's like an entity, is the government. And I know you've heard these phrases before. Big Brother, Room 101. There's so many like social phrases in this book that are commonplace today that I didn't know came from this book. So I thought that was really cool. Like thought crime and just stuff like that was really interesting. I was like, okay, I've heard that before. I knew Big Brother was from this book, but I didn't really understand the context of it until now, so A+. So yeah, the first part is slow. It's hard to get through. Once he meets Julia, there's a lot more dialogue, and things really pick up. And then at the end of part 2, things get super crazy, and that's when I like couldn't put the book down, like the last 100 pages, because you actually are spoken to in like normal words, and you get a history of why and how things have become this way. And it's so scary because it's totally plausible. Like, Winston's world is something that, George Orwell kind of was looking at and said this could happen in 1984 in 20 years, and he was wrong, obviously, but it's a total reflection of our society still today, and it's something that if happened, it would be much more gradual than 30 years like it is in 1984, but it is something that is totally capable of happening, and it's scary. It's like really scary. Winston ends the book and he is a whole different person from the very beginning, and the the government kind of takes him and twists him in the way that they want him to be as a functioning member of society, and it's almost impossible to ignore. Like, he can't escape it. That is his life, that he's part of that society. It's very creepy, but a very, very good book. It's well written. Even the first half is well written. It's just hard to get through because you're just kind of forced upon the society, and there's no real background as to how it got that way or where you even are. I mean, I knew it was set in like England and London because just because I heard about the book before, but like I think if you hadn't, you would be like, where are we? So once you kind of situate yourself in reference to the world and then other parts of the world, and once you start reading the secret book, you actually get phrases from that. You don't just hear Winston summarize it, you're actually reading it with him. It gets like, oh my god, this is scary, this is totally could happen, and like very, very freaky. And then Winston eventually commits a thought crime and he is taken in for interrogation, and he comes out a whole different person, and that's kind of all I will leave it at. But 1984, I really enjoyed it. I recommend it to anyone that is interested in government or just how a society functions. It's my review of 1984. Yeah, it's not, I highly recommend if you're out of high school that you read it, if you didn't have to already. It's something you should read just because it's an incredible reflection of the past, the present, and the future. Hopefully not the future. Okay, that's it. Yay. So more reviews soon, and thanks for staying with us into the new year. All you viewers, you're great. So yay, thank you. Okay, bye.